This is a video introduction to the Virtual Tablet Navigator, also known as VTN, for AutoCAD. When VTN is installed properly, you would see in AutoCAD under the Add-ins ribbon a new panel called Virtual Tablet Navigator. And on this new panel, there'll be two icons, VTN and a drop-down icon that has access to the rest of the VTN commands. Lastly, you would have access to a toolbar that also has all the commands listed. So I'm going to move this toolbar to the side here, and I will talk about what the VTN does. Basically, AutoCAD has been shipped with access to a tablet digitizer, a physical digitizer, where a number of commands can be accessed. And unless you have a physical digitizer tablet, you will not be able to access these commands. This is where VTN comes in and takes that physical tablet and now makes it possible for you to have access to all these commands virtually with virtual tablets on the screen. And the VTN command, as I clicked on there, gives you this virtual tablet and maps this physical tablet into basically 8 separate virtual tablets. And I'll go over these 8 virtual tablets for you to access on the screen. Let's start with alphabetically with the draw tablet, and again that's this section here. When I click on the draw tablet, virtually on the screen now you have all the commands as you would see on the physical draw tablet, now mapped virtually on a graphic screen for you to select from. So for example, if I want to start drawing a line and I could select on that command, it will actually execute the line command, as you can see. Likewise, and I'll go back to the draw virtual tablet, and this time I'm going to use the toolbar, which is here, and again I click that. The virtual draw tablet comes back on for you to select from, and this time I would choose the P line command, again matching with what would have been on a physical digitizer tablet. So clicking on the P line command, and again immediately executed the P line command for me to start drawing a actual P line. Now let's move on to the next virtual tablet alphabetically, and this time I'm going to use the ribbon to access it. In this ribbon, on the drop down, let's click on the Edit Snap Modify Database tablet, and that would be the same as this area of the physical tablet, now mapped virtually on a tablet on the screen for you to select from. And as you see, there's a number of commands like the copy command that you'll see on a physical tablet that you could access now on a virtual tablet. By clicking the copy command, it executes the command, and now I could select those objects to copy from. And let's say that I want to copy from an endpoint of that, and if I don't have a running snap, if I don't have object snap set, I won't be able to select that endpoint, or maybe that midpoint, which I don't have access to. So I could, now if I have a physical tablet, of course I could select it from here. But since I don't have a physical tablet, I could again come back up here, and this time I'm going to use the toolbar to access that Edit Snap Virtual Tablet, and I will select now midpoint. And notice that it executed that midpoint option, and now I can select any of the midpoints on the segments of the line or P line to start my copy. And again I could go back, and this time I'm going to select, and notice that because I selected from the drop down, the virtual edit snap modify database, I could again click on that, and it already highlights the most current or recent selection, and I press the spacebar, it will execute that virtual tablet on the screen. And this time I will select intersection, and I will choose that intersection, and I just copied multiple objects on top of one another and cancel out of the command. So I've completed this procedure by using the virtual tablet draw and edit. Now I'll move on to the third one, and using the toolbar again, the file tablet. And again, that's this area of the physical tablet now virtually shown on the screen. And notice it has exact same commands, new, open, and if I click on any of those commands, it's going to execute that command. For example, open. And you can see that here it actually opens the command for you to select drawing from. In this case, I'm not going to select anything, so I'm going to cancel out of it. And notice if I go back again to the that same command, and this time I'm going to use the drop down under file, show file tablet. Most of these tablets have these buttons in the right side, and these buttons are basically the same way you can navigate like you would do on the toolbar or the drop down back to the either the Navigator, which is the main window, main Navigator virtual tablet, or any of the other, again going back to file, any of the other virtual tablets. And let's say now, since I've seen file, I'm going to go to the next one alphabetically in the list, insert format dimension, and that is located here in the screen. Let's go and take a look, and that's where it is. So this is the physical insert format dimension tablet command, and now I've brought that, this VTN app has brought that now virtually on the screen for you to select from. So you can select again any of these commands on the screen, like for example xref, and you could see that it's going to execute the xref palette, which is what it would have done when you selected xref anywhere on the physical tablet in this location. And let's go back, and again let's bring back the insert format dimension tablet, and this time I'm going to do a dimension. Again, very similar to what will be shown on a physical tablet. Now you will see it on a virtual tablet for you to select from. This is going to be a linear dimension, and I'm going to dimension from here to here, and then here's your dimension, right? Executing the command exactly like you would here. And again, notice that the add-in ribbon drop down has the most recent command listed here for you to select from. So you drop that down, press the space bar, it will execute the most recent command off of that ribbon. And I'm going to go to the next, before I go to the next numeric, and I would like for you to show you how that actually works by going back to the edit snap modify database virtual tablet, where I could execute an offset command. Again, very similar to what you will see here on the physical tablet, is reflected now virtually on the screen for you to select from. So offset, and now it's asking for a typical AutoCAD offset command for a number. So now I'm going to use the numeric, and I'm going to use my toolbar here to select the numeric tablet, and this is the tablet like this numeric tablet where I'm able to enter numbers. So I'm going to say at, and I can see the number here, 8, 6, in that direction. Now it's, oh, I don't really want it to be drawn that direction. Let's backspace like I could do here, and I will just backspace through it. And I made a mistake. I'm doing an offset command. I should be using just a number. So I'm going to use 8 for 8-inch. Click OK. So notice that it entered the 8 in the command line, and now I could continue with my offset command. And this is 8 inches. You see how far out that is. This is, again, this is shown in paper space. So I go, oh no, I really don't want to do that, so I'm going to cancel it out, and let's go back in and repeat the offset command, and again repeat and I could repeat it this way too. And instead of 8, I'm going to say 1 inch. That makes more sense to me. Click OK, and now this will offset that 1 inch. So very simple process of using the numeric tablet, which is a little different than the others, mainly because with the numeric tablet you have a series of numbers that you need to, or you would like to enter before you actually execute command, and you can always backspace through them to start from the beginning. Alright, so the tools is the next virtual tablet that I'm going to open up here. Oh, after I cancel out of this command, of course, it's still in the middle of the offset command, but notice that it's transparently executing the tablet, because all these are designed to be executed and basically run transparently in the middle of another command, which is how I was able to access and enter a number for the offset. Right, I could go back to numeric again, and notice again it's still a transparent command, and I'm still in the offset command, so I'm going to use number 2 for the offset this time, 2 inches. Click OK, and now it's going to offset another 2 inches. Alright, actually I think it was still in the middle of the offset command, so it did not take that 2 inches. But just to give you an idea is how actually that transparent command works even with the virtual tablet navigator. So let's go back to the tools, and this tools virtual tablet reflects what's shown here. Let me get rid of that so that won't be distracting. Again, clicking on the ribbon, the recent command, spacebar, I will execute the tools virtual tablet, which basically is the same as that physically, now virtually on the screen for me to execute any of the commands. And in this case, I could run options, and the options command runs, as you can see in the command line, and here is the options window. So I'm done with that. That was a mistake. I don't want to run options. Again, I'll go back to the drop down, press spacebar, execute command again very quickly, and then this time I will do a distance command. And again, I could do a distance from endpoint to, but I want really like the midpoint perpendicular. So going back to the snap menu, I'm going to take the midpoint of this line and going to the perpendicular. I don't want the endpoint. Go back to snap. Everything is now virtually on the screen without having to use a physical tablet digitizer, and I just measure that distance of that line, and notice that I think it flew way above here. There it is. Distance is 2.624 inches. So that is how virtual tablet can be used transparently in the middle of a command without any issues. Now notice that there's a user tablet that's next in the alphabetical list, and this basically is the same as the upper portion of the AutoCAD tablet, which always comes blank for the end user to add their own custom commands. And basically I've included instructions how to do this using this virtual tablet navigator. So if you go through these instructions, you'll be able to add your own commands, and this image will be showing your commands on the grid, and when you select that grid, it will execute your user command. Alright, so view. That's the last virtual tablet on the screen. And notice that this again is a reflection of everything that's shown here. And initially, actually, this red series of commands is placed right next to the screen menu. But since we're not using the screen menu like a screen menu on a tablet, I decided let's move these commands over here as part of the view virtual tablet, which is what I've done on this VTN. So now with all the commands you could access on a virtual screen on the screen, you don't necessarily need to have a physical tablet to access these commands. All right. One last thing, I'm going to go back to the Navigator. Again, that's the main tablet. Notice these additional commands down here. These are basically very similar to the zoom and pan commands that you will have access to the view tablet menu. But I thought that would be a good idea that when I'm executing, and anyone is executing the VTN Navigator tablet, to have access and say, I really want to zoom in, this area first before I do anything. And now I could go back to my, VTN from using cursor menu, and then say, okay, now I think I'm ready to access and do something. After I've zoomed in closer, I go, well, I actually made a mistake. I really want to go back to the previous screen and zoom previous. And so I execute the zoom previous command. Okay, so that concludes the introduction to Virtual Tablet Navigator and add-in for AutoCAD.